Happy to be joined by Mike Welsch of the Daily Racing Forum with Saturday's Summit of Speed upon us. We've got, Mike, the traditional Summit of Speed stakes late in the 14-race card, beginning with the Azalea in race number 10. Where do you stand as far as who you like?
Well, it's the first of several of these races that I think, the favorite may be vulnerable. At least I'm going to take a chance against the favorites. If they beat you, they beat you. And that favorite in here is our Angel Kate. And look, she's won 5 stakes. On Clash, she towers over the field. But she was life and death to win last time. Maybe she's tailing off a little bit. She's kind of a speed filly, and there's a lot of other speed in this race. So, position-wide, I mean, she may not necessarily need the lead, but she doesn't want to be involved with 3 or 4 others all around her either. So I took a shot here with a lightly raced horse called Sweet Tooth Haven. This horse showed big promise last year in her debut. She didn't follow through in her next 2 races, got a long layoff, came back with a big effort. That's seven furlongs last time. It's obviously a distance she can handle. And while she has some speed herself, I think Luca Panici, who's been riding terrific, is just going to take a hold of her, let her relax off the leaders, and then try to make one run. So she can trip out. I think she's good enough where she could maybe run down the speed, and we could beat the first favorite in these 4 races.
That sounds pretty good. Give a quick pop to Firefoot, who looked very good, got a fast buyer, relatively speaking, of 83 and a slop track win here for Todd Pletcher.
Yeah, the question is, I mean, how much did the sloppy track influence her performance? You just don't know. I mean, and she's lightly raced with only 1 start. You're talking, she's up against the horse that's won 5 stakes.
Yeah.
So that alone, it's hard to play her. Todd himself even admitted it's a tall order, but she's stable down here. The stake is here. Even if we got, a stakes placing for her, it'd be good for her, her future down the road. But, she's one of the ones that you got to consider. She's also got some speed. She's going to be stalking from the outside. So even though I wouldn't throw her out, I'm just going to be against her as a win play.
Now, moving on to race number 11, for my money, the Grade 3 carryback came up. The best stake on the card, the best race of the day. It is a good one. Do you see 3 Rules getting back to his favorite track, a homecoming of sorts, and getting back to the winner's circle here?
I mean, obviously, he's the horse to beat. His race in Maryland wasn't maybe as bad as some people make it out to be. He was down on the rail. The track was a little wet, probably wasn't where you want to be. And look, he got beat by a pretty good horse, Recruiting Ready. He came back and ran, I think, 3rd in the Woody Stevens. But I'm just not so sure this horse is as sharp as he was either earlier in the year or he was back last season when he dominated the 2-year-olds here. His last work, even though it was a maintenance move, I thought it could have been better watching it last week here. So I'm going to try against him as well. I went for Mo Cash, and I was between Mo Cash and Classic Rock, but I thought Mo Cash's last race was terrific against older horses. A lightly raced 3-year-old taking on older, more experienced horses. He gave Quixote all he could handle before finally giving away at the end, and that might have been as much lack of experience as anything else. But Quixote's going to run later in the card in the Smile Sprint, and I think if Mo Cash can repeat that effort, he should sit a good trip just behind the speed. And he can come up with another effort like that last one against older horses. I think he could spring the upset. Classic Rock, just throw out that last race in New York. Not only was he overmatched going into the Woody Stevens, but he didn't break or he got bounced around. He wants to be on the lead or close to it. So he had no chance right from the start. He was also down on the rail, and the rail was just death that day in New York, so he never tried. So I'm just throwing that out. Outside post is great for him. Came back here and worked a super sharp half mile, showed that abundant speed of his, and did it easily enough over a very fast track, but he did it easy. So I see him right out there. If they let him get loose on the lead, if 3 Rules takes back and the other speed takes back and he can clear off like he did in his big race here earlier in the meet, I think he could steal it.
All right, fair enough. Very good carry back, though. You agree?
I agree. You've got some good horses shipping in. You got some good locals, so it's an excellent race.
All right, let's move on to the Grade 2 Princess Rooney, race number 12 on your Summit of Speed card. You've got a number of familiar faces to the fans down here in South Florida, like Dearest and Distinta, both unraced since that narrow finish between the pair in the Inside Information March 18th. Few others as well, like Curlin's Approval, who's trying to get back on track. Let's start with Lightstream as she comes back to Gulfstream Park.
Yeah, I thought this race may be the toughest race of this bunch to handicap. I think you can go 5 or 6 deep and still be sweating it out as they come to the wire. Look, Lightstream's the class of the field along with Bird at the wire. She's Grade 1 place. This is her 3rd start of her form cycle, so supposedly she's supposed to move forward off that last effort. And the Better Roses race was good, but I thought she was in perfect position at the 8th ball in the better part of the track that day, and she didn't kick on. She has a little habit of hanging in her races. She did the same thing in the test when she got out-finished by Paulo Queen at like 90-1 or whatever she was that
big
day.
Price.
So, look, if she wins, it's not going to surprise me. But do I want 2-1 or 5-2 shipping down here and back into the heat? Nah, I'm going to take a shot against her. I actually went for Curlin's approval. Look, this is a rematch of sorts of the Inside Information, which turned out to be a pretty good race.
Yeah.
I mean, Mia Tori, who finished, I think, 4th or 5th that day, came back to run 2nd in the Bed of Roses. So that race classed up pretty well. It favored horses, I thought, that were coming from off the pace. Curlin's approval was off the pace, but she was outside the entire way and out of her comfort zone. She wants to be closer than where Louis Saez had her that day. And she might have bounced off that big effort the race before, too, here in the Royal Delta. So I'm just going to take a shot. She could rebound here. Her work last week, the 5-furlong work, was terrific. I just think this horse, we know she's good enough to beat these if she can go back to those earlier races. And she's going to be a lot bigger price than we've seen from her in her last 2 starts. So, she loves the track here. Why not take a shot with her? I think Dearest could wind up the controlling speed in here. She blew an easy lead in the Inside Information. But I think not an easy lead, a longer lead after a contested early pace.
Yeah.
There may not be that contested pace in here unless someone steps up that we don't expect to challenge her early. So I think Dearest might wind up being the horse to beat. Bird at the Wire, a Grade 1 winner, ran 3rd in this race last year, but her current form a little bit questionable. And Distinta had everything her own way when she won the Inside Information, but she did win it, so you can't discount her either.
She'll grind away. It's a heck of a Princess Rooney, race number 12 on your Summit of Speed card. And, of course, the Big Four, if you will, that pick 4 comes to a close with race number 13, a Grade 3 Smile Sprint, the winning you're in for the BC Sprint. How much do you subscribe, and you touched upon it with Lightstream shipping into South Florida with a horse like Imperial Hint, who's the best horse in this race. I don't think there's any denying it, with an out-of-towner coming down to South Florida at this time of the year.
Well, all 3 favorites here are actually coming in from out of town, although Delta Bluesman and Awesome Banner have been here before. We know they like this racetrack. They are coming back into a little bit warmer temperatures than they've been facing up east lately. But Imperial Mint's the big question mark altogether. I mean, look, his last 3 races are terrific, but he shipped all the way over to Dubai. He got sick in Dubai. He didn't run in the Dubai Classic. They did the right thing, though. They kept him there a full month before shipping him back, which I think takes away some of the question marks about the long ship back and forth within a short period of time. Seems to be training well. If he runs his race, he's going to win.
Yeah.
It's just a question mark of if he's going to run his race. The same goes for Delta Bluesman. I mean, he won this race easily last year, but his form now is certainly far more suspectful than it was when he came in here last year. His trainer, George Navarro, said he's doing great. He made some tweaks and changes. At his best, I mean, he could win, but right now his form suggests he's not at his best. And Awesome Banner, he is at his best if you go by that last race in Maryland. I mean, he ran 2 of the top members of the division, Whitmore and the AP Indian, to a close decision. It may be the best race of his career.
Oh, yeah.
And he ran 2 super races here early as a 3-year-old, won a couple of graded stakes. So we know he likes the track. He's coming off a big race. He's back at 6 furlongs, which looks like a pretty good distance for him, and he should trip out. So I can't throw him out either. I'm Imperial Hint and Awesome Banner. I'm going to try to beat the defending champ, Delta Bluesman, just on his present form that looks a little suspect.
Quixote, any thoughts on him as he comes out of a win in the big drama?
You know, it was a good race like we discussed earlier. He beat the 3-year-old Mo Cash, but it was a big effort in his local debut, and they freshened him up pointing for this one. And Royal Squeeze as well, freshened up after a big overnight stakes win last time. So they're the 2 best of the locals. If you ascribe by the theory that the ship in here will have a negative effect on the 3 favorites, then those are the 2 you want to look at. But to me, I think it's Imperial Hint's race to lose. I look for him to just sprint away, get clear on the lead, or if Coronado again wants to go, just stalk him. No reason to go with him. I mean, if he wants the lead, let him have it and just sit off. But I'm Imperial Hint and Awesome Banner in the big one.
All right, the work's been done. The man, Daily Racing Forum's South Florida correspondent, the great Mike Welsch. Thank you for your time, Mike. Have a great Summit of Speed.
I don't know about great, but thank you for having me, and we'll see you here at the end of the summer.
All right, sounds good.